So, welcome to the presentation on the morphological and analytical evidences of evolution. And in the previous presentation, we saw the homology found in the pentadactyl limb of vertebrates. So, here we are going to deal with the rest of the examples. So, here we have the homology of heart of the vertebrates. And in all the vertebrates, the heart is ventrally placed with a closed system of blood vessels containing blood with red and white corpuscles, and it is almost similar in all the vertebrates. Um, Here you can see in the case of fishes, the heart is two-chambered, composed of a single auricle and a ventricle, while in the case of frogs or the amphibians, the heart is composed of three chambers, completely divided auricles, so two auricles and a single ventricle. Coming to the reptiles, we can see the reptiles like turtles and lizards, they have three-chambered heart, two auricles which are completely separated, while ventricle it is incompletely separated. While again in the reptile itself, the crocodilia do have a completely four-chambered heart, two auricles and two ventricles. And in birds and mammals, the heart is completely divided into the four chambers. So here you can see there is a gradual what you call increase in the complexity, increase in the number of chambers of the heart. Okay. Similarly, you can see the in the case of fishes, there's a single circulation, and gradually there is um, a replacement of the single circulation by double circulation. Here you can see it is double circulation. Here also double circulation, and almost coming to crocodiles, the double circulation is completely independent and it is getting perfected. So there is with complete separation of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Uh, Coming to crocodiles, you can see the double circulation plus the complete separation of oxygenated blood from the deoxygenated blood. Okay, so crocodiles and the higher vertebrates do have a complete double circulation and a complete separation of oxygenated deoxygenated blood. And there is a shift from single circulation in fishes to double circulation coming to the frogs, we can see, but the separation of the oxygenated and deoxygenated is not complete. And all this show that there is a progressive change from the simple to the complex nature. Okay. Similarly, when we speak about the aortic arches which emerge out from the heart. Okay. So here you can see this is the branch, the aortic trunk, which arises from the heart. Okay. So here you can see this is the aortic trunk, and then it divides into two, gives of branches. Ventrally, it merges with the vessel over here. Okay, and this one, it is a dorsal aorta. It goes off to give blood to the various parts of the body. Right. So here this it is actually an ancestral type. Okay, so this picture represents the one with the six aortic arches intact. Okay, so this one starting off from the heart as a ventral aorta gives off branches, you can see, and it joins together, it meets together at the posterior part of the heart to form the dorsal aorta, which further moves posteriorward, gives off branches to various parts of the body. So this is a typical or hypothetical ancestral type of the aortic trunk. Okay, where we can see all the six aortic arches are intact. Right. So how there is a change from the six aortic arch to the mammalian type. Okay, so how the changes happen. Here you can see in the embryos of all the vertebrates, all these six aortic arches can be found, or aortic arches are developed. But some of them disappear later during the embryonic development. Okay, in adult fishes, you can see in cartilaginous fishes, in what you call the bony fishes, the teleost fishes, as well as the lung fishes, there's a change in the what you call the aortic trunk as against the ancestral type. Okay, so here you can see in the case of teleost fish, the first and the second aortic trunk disappears, while in the lung fishes, the first one disappears. So it could be concluded that in adult fishes, arch 1 and sometimes 2 disappear, while the remaining arches, the 3 to 6, it usually remain as the arches that serve the gills. Okay. Now, in amphibians, you can see the arches 1 and 2. Here you can see the 1 and 2 disappear, and in some cases, even the 4 disappears. So, remaining 3, 5, 1 and 2 disappears, and in some cases, even the fifth aortic arch also disappears, leaving behind the third one and the fourth and the sixth. Okay, so in the land vertebrates, you can see the fifth arch also disappears, while the third usually forms the carotid. So this is the carotid emerging out from the heart. The this particular aorta, it gives off a branch that further branches to give rise to the carotid trunks. Carotid trunk usually supply the head region, right? So here it is, you can see the internal and the external carotid artery. So this is actually formed from the, sorry, the third, what you call the third aortic trunk. Okay, the fourth becomes the systemic trunk. Okay, the fourth you can see here, it forms the systemic trunk, leading that moves posteriorly, and it needs to form the dorsal aorta. This is the dorsal aorta. Okay, coming to the birds, only the right systemic trunk is retained, while the left one disappears. Okay, so in the case of birds, they have the third, the fourth, and the sixth. Okay, so, but the sixth is reduced, while the fourth is actually only the third, the left one. Sorry, the right one is retained. Okay, the left one, it disappears. While the case of mammals, it is just the reverse, where the left systemic, it persists and serves the body. Okay, and the sixth arch, you can see it always forms the pulmonary. Okay, here starting from the reptiles, you can see this forms the pulmonary artery. Okay, here also it is indicated the pulmonary artery. So the third, it forms the carotid. Okay, third forms the carotid, while the fourth forms the systemic, and the sixth forms the pulmonary. Okay, while the fifth, it disappears along with the first and second. So coming to the reptiles, the first and second has disappeared. Similarly, the fifth has disappeared. The third one is retained as carotid trunk, while the fourth one is retained as the systemic trunk, and the sixth one as the pulmonary aortic trunk. Similarly, in the birds, again the third one, first and second, as well as the fifth disappeared. The third one is retained as carotids, while the fourth one, only the right fourth, what you call aortic trunk is retained as the systemic, while the left one has disappeared, and the sixth one is retained as a pair of pulmonary arteries. Okay, in the case of mammals, the third one is retained as carotid. The first, second, and fifth is disappeared. The fourth one, only the left one is retained. You can see here, while the sixth one is retained as a pair of pulmonary trunk. So here you can see there is a gradual decrease in the number of aortic arches. But in the embryonic stages, all these vertebrates do possess a ancestral type of aortic trunk arrangement where all the six are present. Okay. Now coming to the homology of nervous system. Um, in all the vertebrates, nervous system includes an anterior brain with comparable divisions such as olfactory lobes. You can see here these parts. So this is the cerebral hemispheres. Here you can see, okay, starting from fishes, you can see these are the fishes. You have the amphibian, reptile, birds, and mammals. So as we move along the like from fishes to mammals, the cerebral hemispheres, the actually the space has increased. Okay, more amount of the nervous tissue has formed the cerebral hemispheres. Similarly, the cerebellum that also has increased. But what happened to the this part? Okay, that is actually the diencephalon part is actually olfactory lobes, the cerebral hemispheres, the optic lobes, obviously. Then the cerebellum, there is a shift from the fish type to the mammalian type. Certain parts of the brain, such as cerebrum and cerebellum, they exhibit a progressive complexity, increase in complexity from fishes to mammals. Paired cranial and spinal nerves and a single dorsal nerve cord are also common to all the vertebrates, indicating a common ancestor for all of them. So obviously there had been an ancestor which had the paired cranial and spinal nerves, single dorsal nerve cord, plus all these parts, that is cerebellum, cerebrum, then the optic lobe, all these parts have been present in the case of ancestor as well. But the evolution you can see from the fishes to mammals, it has actually, there is a progressive increase in the complexity of certain brain parts, especially the cerebrum and the cerebellum. Fine. So there is again a homology of the nervous system. Now coming to the invertebrates, there are many homologous organs in invertebrates as well. All arthropods have a segmented body with chitinous exoskeleton, paired jointed appendages, double ventral nerve cord, and many other features that are common among the invertebrates. And hence we can see that all these had originated or evolved from a common ancestor having these characters. Okay, a double ventral nerve cord is also present in annelids, primitive mollusks, and some other invertebrates. So all these have arose from a ancestor having a double ventral nerve cord. Fine. Now, specifically, if you cite an example, it is with respect to the mouth parts of insects. Okay, the mouth parts of different types of insects, like we can see here, it is this represents the honeybee, this is the grasshopper, this is the butterfly, and here you have the mosquitoes. So when you compare all these, what do you call the mouth parts of these insects, you can see they have a labrum. This represents the labrum, the upper lip. Okay, this is the mandible, helping in a pair of mandibles helping in chewing, a pair of maxillae, and here the labium. Okay, so in all these insects, these structures are modified to perform different functions. For example, in the case of grasshopper, it is for cutting and chewing. Okay, in honeybees, it is for lapping and sucking. You can see here. All these parts are there, but it is modified for their to suit their habit. Now here you can see in the case of butterflies, it is siphoning type. So it is actually for nectar sucking, sucking of nectar from the flowers. And the case of mosquitoes, you can see it is the for piercing and sucking. So piercing the body and sucking up the blood. So in all these insects, you can see the form, the external structure, it is slightly different. But basically, they are formed from all these parts. That is labrum, a pair of mandibles and maxillae, and a labium. So these are the parts which are modified to form all these structures. So the fundamental resemblance among these appendages is actually supports the evolution of all these insects from the same ancestor. Okay, and these modifications specialized. It is for the specialized kind of habit or habitat they have, the kind of food they feed in, etc. Okay, but primitive pattern. It is from the primitive insects, or the insects from where all other insects have evolved, had a mouth part which was composed of all these basic structures. Okay.